Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Oh my goodness, Brad Garlinghouse in Congress and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $3.53 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off 1.9%. Bitcoin 110,000 plus, Ethereum 2,700 plus. It's jumping. Yeah, that's right. I said Bitcoin 110,000 plus, Ethereum 2,700 and plus. And then we see XRP at the number 4 spot is 243. Oh, yeah, we're live and kicking, baby. We're up 2.7 on the 24 and 5.5 on the 7-day, ranging between 231 and 245. I like where this is going. I got to be honest. You're going to love it today. Let's get started. It's iTrustCapital, ladies and gentlemen. Look, whether you want to move your 401k, 453B, 405, they got all these different packets, all these different offerings. You can roll it all over, ladies and gentlemen. You can roll it all over into your IRA. And I tell you something, and you get the empowerment of your back office, which you don't get with most IRAs. I'm telling you right now, I've been with iTrust probably 5 or 6 years, and I couldn't be happier. And then they go and do this. They introduced a premium custody account, which is not an IRA. It's a regular account, but it's set up for the long-term investor who just holds assets. And if you want to make sure that you have a place that you can go that has a 1% trading fee, a closed loop system for your ultimate level of security, this is something you're going to want to check out. And I want you to check it out. And if you're new to iTrust, you can get a $100 funding bonus. Listen, this just makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. You do know that you go in with your cash in crypto, you got to come out in cash. The only way you can come out of it is cash. And that's a closed loop system designed for the long-term investor who really wants to make sure that they have as much protection and security on their account as possible. Not to mention, institutional grade custody comes with it. So listen, there's nothing but upside to this. So make sure you go to itrustcapital.com/XRP Army and get started today, or just click the link underneath the video. Right here, don't forget, Ripple swells in New York for 2025, and we're about to get legislation to become law for crypto in the United States. What else is in New York? Oh, that's right. Wall Street. Yeah, it sure is, isn't it? And look at all the people here that will be there at Ripple. Not only the Ripple people themselves, like Brad, Monica, and others, but it's Franklin Templeton, BNY, and then it's Citibank, and it's Hidden Road, and it's CME Group. That's what we're talking about. You know, all the big traditional financial players, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, let's get a look at that XRP market cap after all of that's in play, right? That's what I'm excited about. And then let's add this to the mix too, by the way. Dubai Land Department has picked the XRP ledger to build on. Yes, they did.
What Dubai has done is essentially set up a sandbox, which is actually managed by the Dubai Future Foundation, and which we've had very positive talks with. And in essence, it's the experiment to actually look at the right partners, choose the right platforms, and choose the right blockchains. Now, I understand that this is all as of now. This is public information. Anybody can see it. The companies have been selected by the name of Pripco, and the ledger, the blockchain which is being selected is essentially XRP. So.
Yep. So there you have it, right? Oh, I'm loving how this is coming together. And by the way, really quickly, shout out to Guy Scheffelbein. He's giving me a shout out here. He says it looks like I've been up early these days. And you know what, Guy, you're right. And listen, Guy is an OG who's been following me almost since day one, I think. So shout out to you and all my Aussie friends. You guys are amazing. And Guy, I hope you and your family are doing well, my friend. Take care. And look here, President Nayib Bukele post that El Salvador Bitcoin Reserve is showing 400 million in unrealized profits. He's feeling good about the move they've made. And you know what it made me think of? It made me think of my conversation with Honorable Christian Carlo on stage, where we talked about United States issuing digital asset bonds for crypto. And I said, just wait until the United States issues digital asset bonds for U.S. domiciled assets and more. How about that one? Look, if you think that El Salvador is going to be the only country to do this, I think that's a bad place to be. I got to be honest. I think we're about to see all of this fold out in mass, and it won't be just Bitcoin. It'll be many different digital assets, no question about it. And a quick reminder here, the BIS says government bond tokenization could improve market efficiency and support financial innovation, but its success depends on addressing regulatory and infrastructure challenges. Absolutely. BIS is the central bank of central banks. And a reminder, while they're talking about government bond tokenization could improve market efficiency, Ondo Finance is already doing it. They are tokenizing the U.S. debt on the XRP ledger in the form of tokenized bonds. Write that down. And then here we have the hearing that went on yesterday. And who's sitting in the back? None other than Chief Legal Officer Stuart Alderati. Yes. And then let's listen to Timothy Masad right here talking his little clip in part of the panel and the session that went on yesterday. You can see Brad Garlinghouse sitting next to him. We will get to that in a second.
This is a technology. It's not an asset class. It will be used in many ways, including in tokenizing securities.
Okay, now let's talk about that really quickly. Okay. There was Bernie Moreno jumped in and said, no, wait a minute, you're calling Bitcoin a token? It's a commodity. It's not a native asset. And they went through this back and forth. What I'm hearing Timothy say here is that, one more time if we could.
This is a technology. It's not an asset class. It will.
Okay, that's a former CFTC regulator saying very cryptically, is what I'm getting out of this, is that he's saying that it's a utility, not a commodity, right? A utility is what I'm hearing him say. It's a technology, which would mean it has utility. And he's not saying it's an asset class, but this is his personal viewpoint. But I think that's very interesting because, you know, it is a utility as well, right? Public good, like the internet. So this gets real interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Then we see this from the SEC. Boy, what a difference a chairman makes in a presidential election, right? The SEC just released, a 12-page crypto ETF framework, slashing review time from 240 days to just 75 days. This is amazing, ladies and gentlemen. I am super, super excited. And this could be the clearest path yet to a spot XRP ETF momentum. It isn't just building, it's accelerating. Is XRP about to make history? And I think the answer is yes. Now, to add to that, you guys know I put this post out yesterday. And by the way, this was before Brad released his testimony before Congress. And I had said, I can't help but feel like tomorrow's going to be a historic day for XRP, the beginning of a coronation for Ripple and XRP, if you will. You know, with Brad Garlinghouse testifying in front of the Senate, XRP and the XRP ledger will be mentioned and discussed by senators inside the halls of the Senate. And at the exact same time that the Ripple case is about to end, at the exact same time Ripple is released the U.S. digital dollar to real USD, exact same time Ripple just happened to file for a national banking charter and master account with the Federal Reserve, at the exact same time that we just saw them also acquire Hidden Road. We could keep going here, right? But the reality is it's very, very powerful what's going on in the moment we're in. But this hearing yesterday, you know, things got a little sideways with Senator Kennedy, and Senator Kennedy ended up sharing, well, let's just listen here.
Why do you think the crypto industry is buying Senator Gillibrand?
I said, look at the campaign contributions from this industry.
You think they bought her?
No, I said, look at the campaign
you
contributions.
said they bought her. Do you think they bought her?
Senator, you need to focus on this bill instead of trying to distort my Twitter.
You called one of my colleagues
were quoting
a crook,
what a Marxist in Chicago said
and
about
what evidence do you have that she's a crook?
I said there is massive amount of campaign contributions coming into this Congress from the crypto industry.
But is it okay? How come we're not talking about all the money that comes from the banks, Richard? How come that isn't an issue? How come he's not bothered by that, right?
Apologize,
need-
Senator Gillibrand.
I do not want you to have to apologize for passing legislation
wanna
that
apologize to
destroys our
Senator
economy.
Gillibrand for calling
You
her a
are
crook?
distorting what I said, just like you did in the last hearing. You're wasting everybody's time, Senator.
You're a whack job.
Senator,
You are a
wasting.
blatantly
Well, I think we are.
next
I
level
think we.
whack job.
I think we
Is
are.
this middle
By the way, this is where I come in, and most people say, you know, name calling's not good. It's not good to do ad hominem attacks, and that they're right about that. But you know what? I don't give a shit. I like Senator Ted Kennedy, and I think he's great. I think he's and is it Ted Kennedy or Senator Kennedy? He's fantastic, and I know that he called the guy a whack job, but the guy acted like it. You know what I mean? Listen, if you do something really smart, people say, "Hey, man, you're a smart guy." You know what I mean? If you do something really dumb, people say, "Yeah, you're dumb. That was dumb." You know what I mean? I don't know. There's a name for things for certain reasons, right? And this guy is acting like a bit of a whack job. To assume that only the crypto lobby is imposing on someone making sound, rational decisions when we understand that the entire government works with lobby money. Now, let's not kid ourselves. Richard may want to, but the rest of us don't have to, right? So, you know, that makes Richard a whack job, right? Anyway, let's bring it to this now. Congratulations, Richard. You can sit in the corner with your dunce hat. Now, let's go here and listen to this guy who's about to get a crown, and like a king does, because I tell you what, seeing Brad Garlinghouse and over his shoulder, Stuart Alderati right there, Chief Legal Officer, this to me really does feel like a coronation is beginning. And that because we're moving legislation to become law, and now for the first time, Brad, and we have seen testimony committees and testifying and all of this from so many different companies and industry leaders who are amazing in this space. But now we see Brad gets a chance. And isn't it fitting that he's sitting on a committee talking about market infrastructure, because we know the power of the XRP ledger and the company Ripple, especially together. So let's listen to this right here. It is fantastic.
My name is Brad Garlinghouse. I'm the CEO of Ripple. Ripple has approximately 900 employees across our 15 offices worldwide. We were founded more than a decade ago with a mission to enable the Internet of Value, a world where money moves like information does today. We build software products that power cross-border payments, stablecoins, and digital custody. Ripple helps financial institutions reduce friction, unlock efficiencies, and serve their customers better. These are not abstract concepts. We work every day with banks that rely on our technology to deliver real results in the global economy. Ripple leverages the XRP ledger, a decentralized, battle-tested, open-source blockchain, as well as its native digital asset, XRP, to facilitate payments. XRP is built to enable fast, low-cost, and highly scalable transactions. From the start, Ripple made the deliberate choice to work with policymakers and regulators, not around them. We have taken a compliance-first approach, operating with over 60 payment, service, crypto, and money transmitter licenses domestically and globally. With regard to the topic of this hearing, we believe smart legislation should be based on several core principles. Consumers need protection from fraud and scams. Markets need proper oversight. Bad actors need to be kept in check. And innovation must thrive. A constructive and workable framework for digital assets and stablecoins that achieves these goals will expand access to financial markets, create jobs, strengthen the economy, and put the U.S. on the path to being a global blockchain and crypto leader. For the last decade, the legal and regulatory uncertainty surrounding crypto has prohibited meaningful progress in the U.S. At Ripple, we certainly saw firsthand how the lack of clear rules of the road can be weaponized to target good actors. In turn, the technology, jobs, and tax dollars that go with it are pushed offshore, reducing regulatory oversight and putting consumers at higher risk. This has severely harmed American businesses, investors, and of most concerned, consumers. Ripple was the tip of the spear for this regulation by enforcement campaign and was subject to an enforcement action in 2020. We were the first leading U.S. company to be sued by the SEC. We and many others understood that a loss here would be a death knell for the industry. Fortunately, after 4 years of a hard-fought legal battle, we prevailed. The court ruled in our favor on everything that mattered. including finding that the token XRP is not, in and of itself, a security. Our victory cleared the path for other market participants to fight back. Despite these headwinds, Ripple still prioritizes education and engagement with policymakers and regulators globally. For companies to have the confidence to continue doing business in the United States, Congress should focus on passing principled and smart legislation with these critical goals in mind. First, set clear jurisdictional boundaries for our main financial regulators. Second, establish pathways for companies to build in the U.S. without sacrificing investor or consumer protections. And third, ensure that the U.S. can be a global leader in crypto by taking full advantage of the benefits and efficiencies brought by digital assets and blockchain technologies. The U.S. possesses the world's deepest capital markets, the most advanced technical talent, and a spirit of innovation that has powered our nation since its founding. There is no reason we should not be the undisputed leader in digital assets and blockchain. Over 55 million Americans participate in the crypto economy today, equating to over a $3.3 trillion market cap. A smart regulatory framework for crypto market structure is essential to realize that future and is overdue. Speaking on behalf of the crypto industry, I urge you to prioritize the passage of market structure legislation for digital assets through this committee and the full Senate, to provide the rules and regulations needed to ensure that the U.S. becomes the crypto capital of the world. Once market structure legislation for digital assets becomes law in the United States, this will catalyze a new era of U.S. competitiveness and unlock efficiencies in financial transactions, dramatically helping consumers and businesses alike. Ripple hopes to see this become a reality, and we look forward to working with you to help make this happen. I look forward to your questions.
Well, there you have it. And as I said, history has been made, and it was a historic day. And I do believe for myself, it is the beginning of a coronation for Ripple and XRP. I really, really do. It has now been said that it is XRP Ledger and XRP in the halls of the Senate. This conversation doesn't stop. It just begun. Now, I want to hear the comment that was asked from Senator Haggerty to Brad Garlinghouse on the question he had. Take a listen.
Here today. Ms. Mersinger, I'd like to turn to you. And here I'd like to talk about the jurisdiction with the CFTC and the SEC, an area that you know a great deal about. And we're trying to delineate and establish the appropriate regulatory authorities between the two agencies, the CFTC and the SEC. And I'd just like for you to explain to my colleagues and for this audience today why it's so important that we ensure jurisdictional harmony between these organizations.
It's a really great question, but let me bring it, and she gives a great answer. But for the sake of time, I want you to hear the remarks to Brad Garlinghouse to comment on this as well.
System, and what factors would you emphasize that we focus on as we think about an appropriate regulatory framework moving forward?
Thank you, Senator. I think there are unique aspects that need to be thoughtful and applied potentially uniquely to any legislation around this. That said, I do think that where Mr. Massad and I disagree is that depending upon an SEC and CFTC to work together assumes good faith appointed officials in doing that. What we have seen previously is the SEC actually sowed confusion in the marketplace. They took contradictory positions. Under Chairman Gensler, they took actually contradictory positions in different court cases, which actually created more confusion. Yep. And so you had federal judges saying things like the SEC was being arbitrary and capricious in their application of the law. You had judges, federal judges saying that they were not following a, quote, faithful allegiance to the law. And so my concern in depending upon a unelected appointee to make those decisions is that it assumes a good faith actor. And I think what we saw in this most recent SEC was just a war against the industry at large without a consistent application of that law.
Boom.
Well, I think we need to put in place a sufficient framework so that we don't have to rely on the goodwill of a particular regulator, but that it's clear to them our intention. So thank you all. Appreciate the entire.
No doubt about it. I tell you, that was a fantastic answer, because isn't that the problem? We need the legislation to become law so it's not left to the appointed bureaucrats, because that's what because no one will ever invest in this space. No one. to the level, because they won't know from administration to administration who's going to be the good faith regulator or not. And that's not the way to embrace innovation. Now, let's take a look at this really quickly here. Coins Kid said, I'm seeing so many analysts eventually playing catch up to his long-term target for XRP. That $27 target for XRP doesn't seem that far-fetched now, does it? It just takes time to get there. The road to $27 continues, he says. Showing right here that with XRP, with the market cap of Bitcoin, we'll put it at $37.49. So that's not a bad little number to know either. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. I will catch all of you on the next one.